Hey, how's it going, everybody? This is Seth with Just Seth PC. We're going to be looking over a couple of the components that I have in my current build and in my upcoming build that will be featured on the channel here in about 2 weeks or so. I'm sorry about hitting the desk and shaking the camera. It's a bad habit of mine. Anyways, it's kind of a little bit of a review slash overlook of the, as you can see, the Crosshair Hero, or Crosshair 6 Hero by Asus, however in the world you want to pronounce it. But this is the motherboard that I have been using since launch day, along with my, come on, focus, maybe. Anyways, with my Ryzen 1700X. You can somewhat see it. Some of the other components is it is water cooled with my EK Supremacy Evo. As you can see, it's still full of a little bit of coolant. I just tore down my green build. I have 16 gigs of Ballistics Sport, as you can see. Come on. Anyways, you probably see right there, it's 2400 megahertz. Like I said, it's two 8-gig sticks, and then my main drive is, I don't know how in the world people get this to focus. Anyways, 250 gig M.2 SSD. It's a Samsung 850 Pro. I think it's a Pro. Anyways, it's not NVMe. It is SATA protocol. So, but it helps out. It have less wires and whatnot. And then of course my GTX 970 that I am mysteriously painted to look like a Titan X Maxwell. That I did not realize it. I painted it. It looked really nice, and then I googled some pictures and I realized that I painted it just like a Titan X Maxwell, which I was not trying to go for. But there's that, and it is all going to be featured in a Fractal Design R5. Gonna have a custom loop in it, 360 mil radiator. But anyways, we'll go over all that in a little bit. But anyways, quick overview of the Crosshair 6 Hero. I'm pretty sure there's tons of reviews out on this thing. I don't care, I want to do it. But anyways, starting here at the bottom, we have your HD audio, you have chassis fan number 3, onboard start, reset, safe boot, and then retry. Like if you have a bad overclock, you just hit retry or safe boot and it bypasses all that. You have slow boot for LN2, which I'm pretty sure anybody that's doing LN2 is not using this motherboard. You have your ROG extension, which is for like fans and other things that Asus offers, like different hubs. And this, ironically enough, is the only USB 2.0 port on this entire motherboard. Anyways, a little bit farther, you have your USB type 3.0. You have some, right here, you got your pump for your PWM pump for your water pump. You got an RGB header. You have your speakers, your front panel audio, which are a pain in the butt to see, but everybody knows that. You have your temperature sensors and your flow meters. And you have 8 SATA ports at 6 gigabits per second. None of that U.2 bull crap. And then your M.2 drive. Why is my camera not focusing? Anyways, you have your M.2 drive. It supports all the way up to 22110, but as you can see, I'm using the 2280. Following up, you have your X370 chipset. And going up the side of the motherboard, you have your chassis fan number 2, USB 3.1 front connector, your standard 24 pin, and you have different points on here to go at it with a multimeter to be able to check where you're having issues at, which is a fantastic thing. Another nifty thing that Asus has is the 3D mount. Basically, you would stick it here, and you would stick it on the standoff for the motherboard, and it can basically go over the 24 pin. You also have it down here for the M.2 to where it'll screw in here, and I believe right here or here, I don't remember. Anyways, you can put like a little fan on there or whatever. You have your 3 DDR4 DIMMs, nothing too fancy about that. Coming up, you have your Debug Light. This thing is a lifesaver. If you've ever had this and went to a board that doesn't have it, you will understand the pain. And also, you could see them right there a little bit if my camera would focus. You have 4 LEDs down there. You have DRAM, CPU, VGA, and boot, and it'll blink, or it'll go and tell you where it's going, and whenever it stops, it'll give you the debug light and it'll tell you where the problem is. You also have a little LED right here telling you that you have your CPU has the correct amount of power. By the way, there's your other there's your other RGB header. Then you have your AIO dedicated header. You have a CPU optional header, and then your CPU fan header. Come over here, and you can see this nice beefy heatsink that it has for all the VRMs, and you have your standard 8-pin with an optional 4-pin. You do not need that, but it is always kind of a good thing to have. And then following down, and then you have one more fan header for your rear-mounted case fan. The good thing about this Asus board is it has AM4 and AM3 mounts. So whenever this first launched, and EK Waterbox did not have the right adapter, I was able to use the AM3. Anyways, you have a PCIe 1X, 16X, 1X, 16X, correction, but it's wired is 8X. Then your 1X, and then another one that's wired is 8X. This is SLI compatible with these two, or Crossfire with this one, and this one. So if you have, you can run Crossfire in this, but this one it can't be a dual slot, or this one can be a dual slot, but this one you're going to run into issues with bumping into everything. You can't have USB 3 or any of that fun stuff. But as you can see on the back here, there's your 16X slot where you would stick the 1 card, and then there's the 2, and then there's the 3, or the 8 and the 8. So you can see 1, 16, 1, 8, 1, 16. And then coming over here to the rear I/O, you have your CMOS back flash. You have your clear CMOS. You have 8 USB type, or USB 3.0, 4 USB 2.0, 2 USB 3.1, both type A and type C, and then your standard, your audio, which is extremely handy. And if you've watched my Hackintosh video, you will understand that this is where you get your audio from, not through the HDMI for some reason. I'm still fighting that battle. But while I have you guys on here, I only have a couple more minutes, I'm going to go ahead and get my CPU installed. Anybody that's ever done this, you will understand, but for the new people, you'll see a little golden triangle right here. And then right up here in the top of this CPU socket, if I can get it to focus, there we go, you can see a little triangle right there in the plastic. By the way, don't hold your CPUs like this. Try not to touch the gold pins, but you know what, whatever. Just gently slide it in there, lining the triangles up, give it a little wiggle, and